can you tell me about your Shark Tank experience?
Shark Tank happened by accident. Probably 1.5 crore people are going to watch this episode. Everybody wants to do this. Having that founder and CEO tag is very sexy today.
For those students, who have that opportunity, Venture Development Center and similar lab facilities right now on campus at GITAM.
Start learning how to code, right? Build applications. If I'm given that exposure at that age, what took me 10 years to get, might as well take just 2 to 3 years to get wherever we are.
Hi everyone, I am Mahesh Warrior. I head Venture Development Center at GITAM University. Today we are having a conversation with a startup founder who is building one of the most interesting and exciting startup for the country. Mr. Vinay Agastya, founder of Ctruh. Now he is going through an exciting phase where he was featured in Shark Tank India, the national television, and he walked out of the tank having 2 offers from 2 different sharks, and he's trying to build his venture from there. Let me welcome Vinay to the talk. Before I jump into Shark Tank, for the sake of audience, what is Ctruh and what is that you are doing in Ctruh?
Ctruh, we're basically building an infrastructure layer on the browser where we are trying to enable people to create immersive content easily. So what Ctruh does is basically we help people create AR, VR or anything 3D or XR content directly on the browser layer without writing a single line of code. So by large, what we are trying to build is, let's say, what Shopify did to website building, what Canva did to Adobe or Photoshop, right? Now that's what we are trying to do for 3D or anything XR. We are making creating immersive technology super easy without, there's no code needed, there's no design skills needed. Ctruh is basically enable that catalyst or that lever or the infrastructure layer on the browser, which enables creating 3D content or XR content very, very easy. Now it could be an e-commerce company, it could be real estate, automotive, healthcare, it could be across different industries. People want to create 3D content. Now the current situation is how people create 3D or XR content today. Is they rely on game engines like Unity, Unreal, there's Blender, Maya, and a lot of very complicated, beautiful 3D modeling tools. And a lot of IT services companies or creative agencies leverage these tools to sort of create 3D or XR content. But this industry has not seen a change in the infrastructure layer. That is where Ctruh comes in. Right. So we are a completely browser-native, browser-based 3D engine where people can create any content just by prompting or uploading images, and we extract all the 3D constellations from that and create 3D content and enable XR through the ecosystem. So you upload a 2D image, right, or a video, we transform that into a 3D asset or a scene, and that's the entry point into XR. Once we have 3D, automatically everything around AR, VR, mixed reality, all of that can be enabled seamlessly through the same platform.
Got it, perfect. The deep tech nature of it, which you are talking about,
correct,
that makes it difficult for people to, it's an entry barrier for anybody to start up,
correct,
or co-found a company in that.
Right.
Do you think your background, ex-Swiggy, ex-Capia, it would have helped in that process?
Absolutely, why not? I mean, I've spent some quality time with a lot of early stage startups. Started my career with Swiggy, eventually ended up in another XR startup called Scapec. You've known Sai and Ajay were building that. I was a part of the team. That's when I sort of got intrigued or sort of introduced to this tech called anything. That's the first time I ever wore a VR headset. I was blown away with the possibilities, right? But then 2018, the product was too early. All the browser-based frameworks, let's say we call 3JS, Babylon.js, were in very nascent stages. But then that's when I started learning anything about WebGL. On the premise of whatever Ctruh is built on today, all the learning start from back in 2018 when I was working with different companies. And then post that, Exotel happened, and then I worked with an academy for a brief period of time before starting Ctruh. A lot of these places, if you observe, I've always been working with early stage startups. And mostly these are non-linear growth lever sort of roles, right, where it's an intersection of product, GTM, and also taking it to market, creating packaging projects, and sort of doing solution architecture, and then taking it to the market at different stages. Right. So I've seen seed-funded startup, worked with them to a $3.5 billion company before starting Ctruh. Right? I've seen 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and 10 to 100. Everybody through this journey taught me a lot. And my roles were across different industries, different scales of companies. Learned everything, whatever Ctruh is built on today, or the values I'd say, or the tech which is being built. This deep tech nature of it makes it very difficult to enter, for sure. But then the learnings I've had over the last, let's say, 9 to 10 years really helped me sort of shape up or build Ctruh the way it is being built.
That's interesting, right? You were a part of early stage Swiggy or other startups. Mm-hmm. You had a contributor role there.
Correct.
You were leading some of those. Now you are building one of those.
Correct.
Right? So what would you identify yourself as? Are you a builder, a contributor, or something else?
I've always been a builder. So even if I was working with any startups, all the startups I just mentioned, right, there was always an intersection of building something from scratch, right? Even in my college days or post-college days, it's always been about building things from scratch, and that's something. Hustling is what keeps me alive. I thrive in uncertainty, so I'll still call myself a builder even today.
Wonderful. Thanks for bringing your college days into the conversation. We got to know that your choice was IIT, like any other Indian student. But if not IIT, then GITAM. I would like to know more about that.
Right. So I happened to study for the JEE entrance for almost 3 to 4 years. Started it in my 9th standard. I missed it by 6 marks. The cutoff for general category, missed it by 6 marks. Eventually ended up getting it, making it to a couple of IITs in the extended merit list. But then metallurgy, chemical engineering were not my choice. And then did make it to other colleges like Manipal, VIT, etc. Other options were there, and even into couple of NITs. But then engineering, I wanted to pursue automobile engineering or anything related to automobile. But then we did not really know a lot. The exposure was very limited. Let's say only SRM University in Chennai had automobile engineering, but then that was not very fancy, to be honest, right? But then ended up getting GITAM, admit from GITAM, and got the choice of mechanical engineering. Was really not happy because I didn't make it to the choice of IITs I wanted. The mechanical in IIT Bombay or Chennai was my choice, but that didn't happen. Eventually sort of met a lot of people, couple of professors, Hyderabad, GITAM, and a couple of my friends joined GITAM first or second batch. They had good things to say about the college. And then when I went to the campus was not really fancy, but then...
You're talking about 2009?
Yeah, correct.
Right.
So we had a single building, the large building in Hyderabad. That was the first campus of Hyderabad.
Right.
Pretty big for that stage. But then ended up meeting a good couple of friends and professors. They had only good things to say. So that was a natural choice because my father, mother, everyone sort of stay in Hyderabad. The natural choice that GITAM is a good college. It has a great brand. GITAM Vizag has a great brand. And then I'm getting the choice of stream which I needed. So yeah, that's how GITAM happened.
Yeah. So 2009-10, that was the initial days of GITAM Hyderabad campus.
Second or third batch.
I'm sure you have seen the evolved version of it as well.
Yeah.
Then those days, even though the infra facilities were just coming up,
Correct.
I'm sure the quality of teaching delivery and that would have been excellent at par as of
Right.
even today we maintain that.
Right.
And when we were talking to your friends again, they were said that you were kind of not that disciplined student. It is very
Absolutely
tough
not.
to relate a co-founder who was featured in Shark Tank and see that okay, he was not in the class all the time.
Right.
So yes, the gig of IIT didn't happen. I really wanted to enjoy the engineering life, to be honest. So started playing cricket, football, a couple of other, there were a lot of clubs in the college. A lot of boot camps were happening. A lot of inter-college competitions were happening. I was very busy doing that, playing cricket, football, and was not really a first bencher, to be honest. Didn't really end up going to class most of the time. But then first 2 years were like that. But then things obviously changed with time. In third year, things got serious. The subjects got tougher. Mechanical engineering, 3.1, 3.2 are one of the most difficult subjects. Theory of machines, thermodynamics, and a lot of other subjects which are pretty difficult. But then something happened. I did intern with GITAM let me do a lot of internships. Right. I went on to work with LV Prasad Institute in their research lab, and a lot of interesting projects came up, and I met really smart people there. Trust me when I say this. When I entered the room in the R&D lab of LV Prasad, you feel inferior. Trust me, there are very, very smart people there doing cutting edge work, and that sort of dawns upon you suddenly that you're wasting time, right? So first 2 years, yes, I was not the best of the students, but then things turned around in, let's say, 3.1, 3.2. Kudos to my professors, also a couple of them who sort of took a little personal care, to be honest. There are a lot of skills which might not translate or are not tangible outcomes while you're doing your engineering, right? It could be public speaking. Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. So public speaking, right? I did host a lot of events in the college. public speaking is very important, right? And that's a skill nobody will teach you.
Do you remember which club you were a part of?
The lot of clubs. The Pramana, the Cultural Fest Club on the organizing committee, did host a couple of events there. And apart from that, football, cricket were always a part of what I do, what I did in engineering. And there was also a very interesting club about a lot of people working on 3D design workshops, right? So there were a couple of professors who were very proficient in 3D design or AutoCAD and then eventually 3D design. And that's where I started learning CATIA, which is a backbone of what I build. I'm building a 3D company today, right? So I learned CATIA in college. That is because of the 3D workshops which were happening in the campus, right? There were external people, trainers who came onto the campus. There were competitions which were held. And those clubs were not very prominent. Very few people knew about it. But then we really had very good people coming there and talking sense about anything 3D, right?
At GITAM also, we have evolved in that sense. We have realized that it's about holistic development of the student rather than the classroom teaching and delivery. We have Department of Student Life with 20 or 30 plus student clubs where we are given opportunity to be part of the club, lead it, manage it, and develop the other side of the academic. It's co-curricular in nature as well. And I'm also glad that you are able to relate what you're building right now. The seeds of it happened on campus, being a part of that, the workshop which you have
I would have never realized. I mean, while college was happening, these workshops were happening. There is no, as I told you, there's no tangible outcome from there. But then it sort of, that interest in 3D design stemmed because of a professor who was on campus teaching.
If I'm not wrong, Professor Arun.
Arun sir. Arun sir. It was actually, this happened in first year of my college.
As early as
first year. Right. We had a subject called engineering drawing and there was a ED lab also. That's when he was very proficient in AutoCAD. And then he spoke about Creo, CATIA and a lot of other 3D modeling softwares which are used in the industry for different use cases and different walks of, whatever cohort people sort of sit in. It could be, if it is for civil engineering, there's a different tool. For mechanical, there's a different tool. Now that is where that is the sort of stem or the root when I started understanding what is a design software in the first place, right?
We were mentioning about Professor Arun and your friends also mentioned that you were caught by another professor and your mischievous activities were reported to home.
Right.
And it happened to be that they were monitoring you.
Right.
And you didn't like it initially.
Right.
But it turned out to be one of the best things happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
do you recollect the name of the person?
Malishwari ma'am.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this happened in third year. It's 2-2 and 3-1-3-2. She actually, I don't know, she got hold of my father's number somewhere. Whenever I bunk classes, somehow my father ends up calling me. He knows about this because she was very strict and she ensured that I was sitting in the lab or class and learning stuff. Right? And while I did not really appreciate that back then, but then somebody taking such sort of care individually in a class of 66 people, right? Probably she saw something. And then, she was pretty strict. But then now when I look back, probably she was right.
Definitely. And I'm glad that there is a tangible outcome right now sitting in front of me. They may not realize when they are on campus, but definitely.
Eventually, I will connect the dots.
It will connect the dots. You're talking about your friends as well. Are you still in touch with them? Where are they right now?
All of them. 60% of my class went to the US after engineering. As you would imagine, back in 14-15, everyone liked doing masters in the US. A lot of my close friends are in the US, few of them in Poland. Weirdly, a couple of them in Australia, a couple of them settled in UAE, and most of them are still in India working with different MNCs and different startups. Your friends had a crazy amount of impact. Friends do have crazy amount of impact on you.
Apart from bunking classes?
Bunking classes is just a thing, right? There's a lot more to it, even when you're in class, outside of the class, or even after college. Friends are somebody who define you as a person more often than not, right? So these people, a couple of them turned engineers, a couple of them turned actors, a couple of them are doing businesses in different industries. But then one thing was very clear: these friends, we still are in touch. We have WhatsApp groups. We sort of catch up for marriages or any sort of occasion whenever there is to be, or a couple of company launches. Somebody's doing something new. We sort of don't leave a chance to sort of not meet, right? So they do have a large impact on you, and there's a few of them motivate you. They're always there for you when you're feeling low, down, you need help. They're always, available to sort of extend their help in whatever format possible.
Right. So that it matters in a larger sense that, the next student sitting in your, the next seat, and how he is performing, and like you said, they are all doing well. What is that one word or piece of advice to the students or aspiring students who are watching right now? How important it is to maintain that as well, while in the classroom or beyond classroom after 10 years, 15 years?
So honestly, these days I see a lot of transactional relationships, right? Might come across a little rude, but then making deeper relations at your college level or school level is very, very important. So there are a lot of things which you cannot share with your parents or your siblings or probably your wife or husband eventually, right? But there's always a friend whom you can pick up your call at 3 a.m. in the morning and talk about anything and everything, right? So making those deep relationships, not transactional ones for that matter, do not expect anything from a relationship, right? That's the best thing you could do. Keep it as raw, unfiltered as possible, and make those deep relationships. Probably your degrees or grades will stay with you for a couple of years, but then your friends are going to teach you a lot. They're going to push you. They're going to sort of help you go, rise up your bar and sort of do well in your life. So having those deep relationships at a very early age, probably school, college, or engineering, or whatever you do in your life, right? Having those close friends is like therapy. Right. So I would highly recommend people have those beautiful, deep relationships at a very early stage in life, and that will go a long way.
So talking about the friendship you had, the connect you had with your teachers, the comfort level you had on campus at GITAM, is that the reason why you brought your siblings or cousins? I think 2 or 3 of them, you brought them to the campus.
Right.
And they studied as your juniors as well.
Correct.
Right. Any particular take on that?
See, honestly, let's say after I was in my 3rd or 4th year of my engineering, that's when the new campus opened up, right? A very fancy campus, if I must say, right? The infra grew, the labs were state of the art. So the reason choice was natural. College, I knew the faculty, I knew what was happening on campus. I had that comfort, it was a safe space. And infra also has, developed drastically. And to be honest, in Hyderabad, they wanted to study, let's say, computer science, ECE. I really do not see a college like GITAM, because I obviously knew a lot of faculty. It was natural for me to get them on campus, and all of them ended up topping some classes, and then they graduated and they sort of moved on with their life. Yeah.
And I hope they are doing well in their
absolutely.
Fine. Perfect, interesting. And I keep seeing you again on various occasions on campuses. That's something special, about GITAM as well. So, what do you think that alumni contribution to GITAM, and is it helping back even now to you?
So, I think Naveen reached out to me initially. He actually came down to my office when Ctruh was in a very small space. We had a long chat. We met a couple of other folks. Vaibhav was also, we met, me, Naveen, Vaibhav caught up in Bangalore. And then since then, he kept talking about the vision of how do they want to revamp the alumni thing at GITAM. Because most of the IITs, ISBs, they have a great, alumni sort of network. So that's when we also thought we should have a Bangalore chapter, Hyderabad chapter, and we should all really give it back to the university in some or the other format. And obviously, it's a two-way thing. Now, I saw the labs, VDC, which you're building in GITAM, Bangalore, fantastic stuff there, right? A lot of exposure to young people. I came to sort of judge a panel, jury member. Interesting startup ideas, people who are actually building something meaningful, right? At that age. Right. Now, that is something we did not really have back then. 10 years ago, we did not have that sort of exposure or the infrastructure the way you have built it, right? And a lot of industry veterans coming there, teaching them, giving opportunities to sort of do some great R&D work in college, right? So that's something, obviously, if I can help in any way, I would not shy away from sort of doing it and giving it back to the young students on campus today.
Thank you so much. That reminds me of that time where we were working on that startup idea competition.
Correct.
And you happened to visit Venture Development Center, the entrepreneurial ecosystem of GITAM right now, which was not there when you were a student, and which is very vibrant right now. So what do you think that minus Venture Development Center that time, still there was opportunity for you? Right. Something directly or indirectly impacted your decision making or your interest in modeling, 3D modeling, and eventually ended up building a company on that. What is that one word for those students, who have that opportunity, venture development center and similar lab facilities right now on campus at GITAM? How can they make the best use of it?
See, honestly, I'm not sure if you can sit in class and learn a lot of things. There's a lot of theory. You should go to your classes. You don't bunk your classes. You should finish your classwork. But then I feel personally, people should start building at a very young age. Let's say I was dabbling around in a lab in Hyderabad in 2013, and that helped me sort of do a fellowship with the MIT Media Labs, right? I never would have thought that dabbling around some Raspberry Pi and sort of building some stupid things in the lab, eventually sort of building something called pupil latency that became a patent, and that's a product used across a lot of ophthalmology clinics today, right? Now, if I did not end up in that lab, if I was not given the opportunity to sort of sit with smart people in that lab and sort of start building, right? When I went there, I started learning MATLAB. I absolutely have no clue what was MATLAB before. Right. Then I started learning computer vision just to build that product, right? I started doing 3D design, fabrication, 3D printing, a lot of beautiful technologies which were emerging back then. And then I actually learned all of them. And I'm not saying I'm an expert in any one of them, but then to build a product, there are different things which you need to sort of go there and sort of design it, fabricate it. You write software to make it work, and then there are a lot of things to make it a prototype and then take it to the market, right? Now, if you don't start building at that young age, it will be already too late by the time you graduate, right? And now that you have access to so many labs, right, I think you should just go sit there and start building. It could be anything.
And there is a safety net.
Correct.
If you fall, still university gives a lot of opportunity.
Correct. Yeah. So there's a safety net, obviously. I'd say the sort of opportunity GITAM is providing, especially in the VDC, people should really take advantage of that. Now, why do I say this? Your classwork is great. You need to know that to be able to implement something. But then if you start sort of, let's say you pick a Raspberry Pi, you want to build a compute. There's AI madness going on, right? Why don't you start dabbling around some LLMs and sort of create a hardware or a software product, right? Now that, your mind is so fresh. It's not cluttered, it's very clean, you know what to do. There's a lot of learning. Your receptance rate is very high at that age, right? Now, and that age, if you're able to build something and start learning new technologies, it could be you start learning how to code, right? Build applications, start wipe coding in the VDC, build a startup out of there. It could fail. That's all cool, right? You learn a lot, and the receptance rate is super high at that age. And if you end up being an entrepreneur there on campus or not does not matter, but you start building. That really changes the way your brain is wired.
Well said, well said. For me, the take is the last line which you said. It is not just about being an entrepreneur, becoming an entrepreneur. It is about being entrepreneurial, right? And it will be a builder. And it will help you. If not a startup, it will help you wherever you go. And that's the kind of opportunity we would like to give through venture development centers or other facilities we have at GITAM. What is that one or a couple of things, which you would like to connect back to GITAM and say, hey, because of this is what I am right now?
See, again, this term of learning new tech, I started coding in college. I started designing in college. I got the best opportunity to sort of build at the media labs or the R&D labs there. All of this happened in college, right? After college, I did not pursue any masters, etc. I was mostly a builder doing stuff and sort of got onto a job and started working with different firms. But then I'd say, yeah, everything I do today, I mean, it could be code, it could be design, that all stemmed from the college days, right? It could be on campus, off campus. It was basically that 4 years which really changed, the way I learned stuff versus what I do today. It all started there.
Wonderful. Can you tell me about your Shark Tank experience?
Yeah.
I think that is one thing which the founders are looking forward to.
Shark Tank happened by accident. Somebody reached out to one of my team members, and they ended up filling the form without telling me. And then I was called upon for an audition to Bombay once. And then there was a screen test which happened in Bombay. And eventually there was a call for shoot, which happened, I think, largely September, October. And then it was all raw. I mean, the Sony team briefed me about how do you sort of pitch your startup, because I'm building something. I'm not another D2C company there. The cohort was very different. Right. You see a lot of D2C brands or B2C brands going there. The cohort was very different, but then we sort of sat down, let's say a day before, 2 days before the shoot, and they were trying to tell me, please don't think about the sharks there. Probably 1.5 crore people are going to watch this episode. How will you communicate Ctruh to them? Right. The second you start talking about 3D engine, nobody's going to understand anything, right? Now you got to sort of simplify the version of the use cases which are possible, which are relevant to people who are watching this show. And then that's how the first 90 seconds which were framed, that was a pitch you had to mug up and sort of give a monologue of sort. And then that's where all the Q&A sort of, then your demos, etc. follow. It was interesting. I mean, once the script was out, sort of mugged it up the way it had to be. And then once that pitch was done, there was a lot of Q&A. You don't get really, a condensed version of 18 minutes is what's aired. But then the conversation actually goes about, let's say, 45 to 50 minutes. And it took me a lot of time to help, enable them to understand what I'm building. And for the first 20-25 minutes, everything was all over the place. And then I said, please let's stop. And then I sort of had to take them back, tell them what am I trying to actually build, the engine, the Versa AI which we have, and how are we transforming images to 3D to XR, the entire full stack or the infrastructure tool which we have built. That's when eventually people understood. And then Anupam had very nice questions about the tech behind it. And then Vinita obviously understood it. But the rest of them also eventually, they are going to become my clients now. Aman said, board is going to be a client. And Sugar, Vinita and Anupam eventually ended up investing.
Wonderful. Yeah. And talking about Ctruh before Shark Tank, can you take me that day one of Ctruh till today? How have Ctruh grown up?
Ctruh, yeah, we have come a long way, man. It's almost been, 3.5 years since I started this Ctruh, right? Now it was 2-3 people in a small room in HSR to almost 45-50 people in the team today. We raised close to $5 million till date. We just closed our seed round recently in the month of Jan. And we have 30 odd enterprise clients. We are in 3 countries, US, UAE and India. And yeah, it's been one hell of a ride building this. But then again, one piece of advice is just don't start for the heck of it. It is not fun. It takes a lot of time to build a company. If you genuinely do not find a problem statement you're passionate about and you're really passionate about solving it, don't start. Yeah. It is hard. You cannot have unlimited funds. You need a great idea. Great. It doesn't stop there. You need a great team. It doesn't stop there. You need great executors executors who are doing this day in, day out. Now, when it comes to building a startup, right, first you found a problem which you're passionate about, or that's a problem you really want to solve for. And then the stem is for you to sort of understand the problem deeper. Do not jump into solving for it. Understand the current solutions, what are the current alternatives, etc., etc. And then once you understand what do you want to build, you should always ask, why am I building this? If you don't know your why, you could build a unicorn and then you will struggle sort of keeping that. Start with why, right? So if you know your why, that clarity matters a lot. Right. And if you're not passionate about it, it is not a 2-3 year you will sell your startup and you'll make millions of dollars. That's not going to happen, right? You only know those 10 startups which get funded every month. You don't know the 99 other startups who are dying, right? Now, entrepreneurship or raising funds has been glorified to an extent that everybody wants to do this. Having that founder and CEO tag is very sexy today, right? Now, unfortunately, people do not understand the seriousness behind building a company, right? It takes away all your relationships. There's no time for your family. There's no time for your friends. You sort of end up working almost 16 to 18 hours a day, right? And it's not negotiable. It matters that you need to, it could be a job, it could be a startup, it could be anything, whatever you're doing in life, right? Making money, yes, is important, but are you spending those 16 to 18 hours making money for something you are really passionate about? Okay. So building a startup, again, not a sexy business. Don't just jump into it. If you're really passionate about building it, it takes a long time. I mean, let's say it takes at least 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15 years to build a very sustainable, high growth, nurtured startup, turning into a full-fledged firm, right? Again, raising capital is a difficult thing in India. Not only in India, everywhere across the world. Access to capital has become very easy today, right? With the AI madness going on in the market, every other AI wrapper is also getting funded. But then, all those funded startups are also dying.
What happens after funding?
Correct. What happens after funding? You are responsible for more cash on table, and you got to be a little more responsible than you were yesterday, because there's venture capital coming in. It could be angel money, it could be venture capital. That's serious money, right? Raising fund is not something you should celebrate. You're raising capital to sort of start building something very seriously, right? Or you're taking it a notch higher. It could be a seed fund, it could be pre-seed, it could be Series A. Now, any stage of capital is serious capital. Now, what happens after funding is you have more problems to sort of more people to answer, right? But then raising capital is always not the answer. You can bootstrap your way. I worked at a company called Exotel. It was bootstrapped for almost 10 years. And suddenly there is 100 million Series C, and then now there are more than 900 people, and they're doing great for themselves. Exotel is doing great. Now, bootstrapping a company is the best way to build something, right? And then once you know you have that hockey stick growth happening, and you know that GTM is right there, you have like pre-product market fit already for your startup, that's when you go raise capital, just to sort of blitzscale your way to different geographies, or probably different geography, not only demographics, different places to sort of scale your startup is when you raise capital.
So, I'll try to connect it to a young founder. Then the first thing that stops him from building a venture is fear of failure.
Correct.
The support system which he has, which we have built like Venture Development Center and other labs on campus, plus versus the fear of failure. Have you ever thought about it?
The fear of failure is always there, right? There's risk in everything.
Right.
You go get a job and you might get fired as well, right? There's risk in everything you do, right? But again, if you're really passionate about solving a problem, failures will come. It is bound to happen, right? You will fail. I failed a lot of times.
So what happens to a young kid? Somebody stands in front of you and say that, hey, I was trying to build something, I failed. Will you hire him?
Absolutely.
Why?
So somebody who's been there, done that, like let's say even if it is a small startup somebody was trying to build. So operators can be hired anywhere, right? Builders are difficult to find. That intent of solving a problem and the intensity which they work upon is, you cannot teach it. Intent cannot be taught. So with people who are builders, it's very easy because they come with high intent. They have the caliber. They might have failed. It could be market condition. It could be the wrong choice of category. It could be anything. Failure is not just capital. People don't fail because of only capital or any other. There could be 100 other reasons why a startup fails, right? If you are getting a builder with high intent, that clarity of thought that somebody has built something from scratch, you can't find it in operators. Operators versus builders, I keep talking about this with my team. High intent happens intrinsically. They don't need extrinsic motivation. And you find it with people who have, let's say, built a startup and failed. And those are the people you should go gun for.
That's a gold mine.
Yeah, that's a gold mine.
So that is one word of advice which we give it to our students as well. When you're on campus, you have this many facilities. Just make use of it. Go out and build. And if it doesn't work, I think they become one of the most valuable resource for another organization, entrepreneur, or if not now, after 5 years.
You end up learning a lot in that journey of building, right? And those skills cannot be taught, or you cannot get it on a job.
Correct. Vinay, can you take us back to the GITAM days?
Right. I think we were the second or third batch of Hyderabad campus. We had a very large building on the highway of Patancheru, right? I fondly remember walking in to the campus on day one, making a lot of friends from the word go. And those days, I mean, the second or third batch, we were very mischievous as a batch, very fondly remembered by most of the directors of the college even today, right? I mean, the cricket, football days, the labs, all the beautiful labs we had, the infrastructure, the way my first year to fourth year, and the new campus which sort of came up while I was just graduating from college, things have changed. I mean, GITAM was a single building to very fancy labs, all those things. I've seen the campus grow, the sort of batch sizes also grow. We had 3 sections in mechanical. I think there were around 10 to 12 sections of mechanical engineering students, my juniors or sub-juniors, etc. Yeah, campus life was fun. GITAM days, the reason most of us remember GITAM is because we had the freedom to do a lot of things. Trust me when I say this. I mean, one thing one takeaway from my college days, what I actually give it back to the college is they let us do our thing, right? It could be an external internship, unpaid internship, or it could be a random connection to a lab, or giving us permissions, etc., to sort of go there, go experiment, do it, and sort of use the same project as my final year, thesis submission also.
Right.
That freedom was always there. So that's very rare in any sort of typical engineering university. There are a lot of restrictions. You can't do this, you can't do that. But really, in our batch, our faculty or professors or HODs, they let us do our thing. That freedom was always there, during my engineering days at least. Yeah.
So Vinay, given a chance to go back to college days again and restart the journey, what would you do, or what would you do differently?
So I do a lot of things. I wouldn't waste the first 2 years the way I did. Given the sort of exposure and the facilities which are available today on the campus. It could be clubs, it could be labs. I've seen some serious research work happening the last time I was at VDC. If I've given that exposure at that age, probably in the 4 years of engineering, I'd do a lot of things. I'd build a lot of things for sure. A lot of good people around, smart people around. They teach me, I teach them. Or first things first is, yes, I enjoy campus life, not waste too much of time sitting in classes. And then have fun, man. I mean, do engineering again? Probably yes. Might as well say no sometimes. But what would I do differently is, yes, I mean, what took me 10 years to get or 11 years to get wherever I am today, probably that time frame could be squeezed, because a lot of exposure, building something naturally comes to you when you're a builder, right? When you build something from scratch, you sort of go through the process and you want to do it time and again. And that becomes, that sort of adrenaline rush happens to you whenever you build something from scratch. So, I mean, have fun, do it all over again, and do it faster. Probably 10 years might as well take just 2 to 3 years to get wherever we are.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to talk to our alum again. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, man. Lovely chatting with you.